Hi guys, this is Massa from the Great White North. So today we're gonna look at Cryptid trading card game, and we have a guest, Tanner.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Very happy to be here. Thanks for the invite.
So you are the developer of Cryptid, right?
Correct. I'm the founder. I do have two business partners, but I found it by myself last year, and now we're all working on developing it together. So
that's cool. And in a nutshell, can you explain quickly what is Cryptid trading card game?
Well, KRYPTIK, it's a TCG that's based on lore that I wrote prior to even wanting to create a TCG.
I see.
And it was developing into this story, and it was getting so involved and so in depth. And I just was sitting on my my couch. I got property in Utah. I was sitting on my couch in the forest, and I was like, I should make this into a game, because I've been playing a lot of EDH, Magic Commander, and same story everyone tells with the Mana Screw, the Mana Flood, just too much RNG, and Magic's just disconnect with the players, and the branding getting a little weird, especially with the secret layers involved with other companies. Like, it just felt like it wasn't as attached to my heart as it used to be. So I was like, I'm gonna make my own game. And then I took that deep dive, and I don't know, this 4 or 5 months later, after a bunch of 12-hour days, I just came up with KRYPTIK, and then started to develop the gameplay. And we want to integrate the gameplay and the lore like no other game has. I want the game to be so connected with the story that every action you take in the game reminds you of the story and makes you feel like you're inside of that story. So everything is deeply integrated, even into the card art, which I'm sure we'll talk about it later, but yeah, I've got a little Easter egg for you. I haven't really told anybody of how the lore is integrated into the cards in a series of cards representing their life on the island. So
I see.
We'll talk about that when we talk about the collectibility and stuff. But yeah, the game itself is just so juicy with lore, and it's so deeply integrated that I think people are really going to appreciate it. And the gameplay mechanics are familiar enough to where people aren't just going to be completely lost when they play this game.
Yeah.
But also different enough to really be brain busting sometimes. I made the game. I've been sitting there thinking, man, what is the move here? Especially in our combat interactions. It's like unlike any other game in that way. So you guys will see as you play, it's very challenging. It's not terribly hard to learn, but it's challenging enough, so and it can be deeply complex. So sorry.
So if I understand well, so your biggest inspiration is Magic the Gathering? If you had
definitely
to choose one game, yeah?
Yes.
So you want to kind of make a fixed version of Magic with a very anchored, strong lore that that put you inside of a game.
Exactly. And a part of that being with the lore integration, which I'll harp on a lot because it is near and dear to my heart, is that with lazy, I just called them lazy, with Wizards and the way they approach lore and the story these days is starting to feel a little bit lazy to the collectors, I think, because they're basically using the planeswalker term and the ability of these characters to interact as an excuse to just loosely throw everything together in one world. Whereas KRYPTIK has a reason and a cohesive story that allows the players to see exactly why these players or these citizens are interacting with one another, how they could come from other worlds and be on this planet together, on this island together, and a purpose for interaction, not just, well, because it's the next set. And as far as the actual gameplay goes, and you're talking about rotation, like your cards becoming useless, we do plan on having a set rotation similar to Magic's that'll be in 6 set blocks. So every 6 sets we'll have rotation for the standard, what our version of standard format will be to be named. And then we will have an eternal format similar to Legacy.
Okay, so that's good. So I have some question, obviously, but I wanted to mention we have a cool giveaway. And so this is Tiberius.
Tiberius.
And you have that's a test foil card, right?
Yes.
That looks very nice, and so
it won't be in focus, but there it is.
No, I know it's hopeless, but I have it on the screen.
Cool.
And so what we're gonna do is, if you want to win it, you have to put a comment below on either your favorite card of the game or the favorite part of the interview. You have to be a subscriber and put a like. and you have to be member of Cryptid Discord, and I will put the link below, and member of my kind of private Discord, because then we're gonna gather all together 1 week after or a couple of days after, I will see, and we're gonna turn the wheel and see who win. It's just more fun if we do it together.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, that was just a little parenthesis. Next, I wanted to ask you why. So this project will come to Kickstarter, right? I think we can mention it.
Yes.
So it's like April 15, something like that?
That's right. Yep.
Why choosing to go to Kickstarter? Because it seems you already put a lot of money in this game. You have cards.
Yes.
You could go like do direct sale to customer, or you could start to work directly with LGS. Why going to this additional step with Kickstarter?
There's two reasons. The main being community building, because people, the Kickstarter game and the concept of a Kickstarted TCG has become so popular that there's whole communities built around it. And when they start to interact with each other and you like add all those communities together, it's massive. So we want access to that community. We want those people to learn about the game and play the game, and it'll help move the process along as we're developing Wicked Prophecy, which will be at the tail end of the Kickstarter, which is our next set, which we're already commissioning art for. And the second reason is the money, of course, and the advantage that it gives you to kickstart the game versus going to direct to market or straight to a distributor is that you can actually get a much higher margin on the boxes that'll allow you to fund future print runs. So I'm building this as a business and a game, of course, but if the business fails, the game fails. So we have to concentrate on both. And people don't realize that these print runs, you have to have a percentage up front, typically 30 to 40%. And the print runs minimums are quite high. So you have to have hundreds of thousands of dollars to print these games. And if you don't have that cash flow to start, it's almost impossible to print the next set. So the problem isn't printing this first set. The problem is having the cash flow to print the next set. So we don't have that business credit line. We can't get bankrolled in that way because the creators could fund the first run themselves. We've already, between the three of us, by the time this hits Kickstarter, we'll have put over 50 grand of our own money into the game. And I'm not counting Patreon money either. I'm talking about initial investment from our own bank accounts. So the key really is to fund the next two sets. That way we can establish that cash flow, and the margin that's given to you by Kickstarter the game versus going straight to a distributor, which is going to be a much lower number because of course every person in line has to make their money. So it just lets us keep more of our margin and build communities. So there's no downside to it. But I will say after the Kickstarter, we do plan on going to a very traditional trading card game business model where it's us to distributor to LGSs. So we won't be selling directly on our website. We won't be selling directly to LGSs. There will be a distributor between us and them to, you know, establish those relationships and to have the distributors put the word out for us and allow the game store owners to be able to, you know, add one box of Cryptic to their palette from specific distributors. And it just makes more sense business wise. But as far as Kickstarter goes, that's pretty much the reason right there.
And how much funds do you think you need to complete this project? Like, how much are you targeting to this Kickstarter?
Oh, at an absolute minimum? I don't know if you guys can see it on the pre-launch page. I believe they can, but it's 50,000. So 50, obviously, having put $50,000 of our own money into the game, we could come up with the other 50K if we needed to. But that's the absolute minimum we would need to get any boxes made whatsoever.
I see.
So that would be the 1,000 minimum. So the print run will be variable. That's a term that I don't know if Grand Archive necessarily coined that term, but they're the ones who said on their Kickstarter. It'll be variable from it'll be variable from 1,000 to up to 11,000 total boxes of Kickstarter booster boxes.
I see.
At a minimum 50, we of course want to raise a lot more than that. And based on our following and the momentum we have going into the Kickstarter, I do believe the number will be much higher.
And like, how much would be a good number? Because like, if you get too much money, that's not that good, because then you don't have enough boxes and get people frustrated, and it's harder to for your growth.
That'll be all limited on the front end. So tiers will be limited by quantity, and there will be no possible scenario where we could oversell. The only boxes you'll be able to buy within the Kickstarter will be Kickstarter edition boxes. We won't be doing any unlimited boxes as part of the Kickstarter. So that'll be limited to 11K, and that limit will be controlled by the tiers having limited quantities. So as it stands now, if we were to completely sell out of all 11,000 boxes, the way our tiers are currently structured, it'd be over $1 million. So that would of course be wonderful. And we're pouring some serious gas on this fire. Once we get Genesis dialed in, which would be right around the 1st of April, and we're getting near a complete product, we'll of course launch on the 15th of April. And then our plan is, in our 45-day Kickstarter, is to spend about 40,000 on paid marketing. So YouTubers, paid ads, potentially some test box breaks, things of that nature.
Give me something.
Yeah,
that's good. Okay, well, I think it's fine. Just I found it rather silly to have low print run just to make the value of each box higher, because then nobody play, and then the game just die, and then it was nothing too. So
well, and to me, and I'm not like throwing shade at any other game, because I actually do understand why games have done this in the past. But to me, making 1,000 Kickstarter boxes and then doing 10,000 first edition boxes in the same Kickstarter campaign, it's false scarcity. It is like forced scarcity.
Exactly. That's just frustrating people just to make it like more valuable.
So I had a tough. Oh, sorry.
No, I wanted to ask you: do you have any experience in game development or in like business of card game, or is it your first big project?
This is my first project. So I have business experience, of course. I own a powerlifting gym in Las Vegas, an e-commerce business that we sell wrist wraps, knee wraps, knee sleeves, called Stronghouse Project. We've shipped thousands of orders over the years. The company was formed in 2015.
I see.
So I have experience in that way. I've also created for that YouTube channel I showed you. It's got over 1 million subs. So
yeah, it's too scary. So I don't show
business.
It. But...
yeah, it's scary stuff. But
as far as time you go in this business.
Yeah, as far as designing a game goes, yes.
That's cool. I mean, but you have been playing Magic and other games for a long time, right?
Oh, of course. And I'm smart enough to realize that I need to include other people in my creative process. So along the way, I've had people help me that are like trusted advisors. And I always, as an entrepreneur, have learned that if you don't know something or you're not expert at something, you need to seek one out and pay them.
And like
that's how business works.
Yeah, exactly. How many people do you have in your team right now?
Right now we have 4. So we have 3 owners. It's myself, and we've got 2 other owners, and then we're just hiring our first employee. He officially starts on the 1st of February. So he's going to be our community manager, our first paid employee. The other 3 are owners who are currently obviously not taking any type of salary or compensation.
Yeah, so. Well, you don't make money yet. You lose money to make money. That's kind of that's crowdfunding in a nutshell. And
we're not even talking about any type of revenue splitting or anything for the first 365 days. Period.
That makes sense. So let's talk about the lore, because I'm pretty excited. You said that's a big part of the game.
Yes.
I'm gonna open. This is a web page that I think is great, and you already have like Kickstarter, lore, cards, play, community, artists, roadmap, LGS season rulebook, and there's a section about lore. Obviously, I'm not going to read all that, but it's kind of cool. So can you explain me the lore? I mean, it looks very kind of Dark Soul-ish to me. I love it. But can you explain me the story behind, and like why there is like 11 years and the 60 years? I mean, talk about it, please.
Sure. So the specific reason of the 66 years, I cannot yet disclose. Okay. That'll be coming in the future. But the premise of the story is that you have these group of overseers. There was the original 6, and then they've had other overseers added over time. They can develop these worlds and these civilizations made up of citizens of different types. Right now, we've got human, undead, mystic, ascendant. And they create these worlds. Sometimes the worlds fail. Sometimes the worlds succeed. But the overseers have the ability to snatch pieces from that world in entire sections and stitch them on a cryptic island. It's like a big world quilt. So these citizens interact together, some of them friendly, some of them enemies. And the whole point and purpose of their lives on Cryptic Island is to face judgment by the overseers and become one of them. So if they essentially pass, they become an overseer. And we're not exactly sure, and by we're, I mean like the people viewing the game, we're not exactly sure exactly why they're doing this or what the purpose of them facing judgment is, but we do know that they what they do on the island does matter, and the overseers are always watching, but they can't intervene. So we don't know if it's being a great warrior, being a great leader, being loving, being compassionate. We don't know exactly what they're looking for, but at the end of the day, they get to vote and decide. And if not, you become soul energy for them to create future whole civilizations out of you. So,
and are those overseer cards, or is it something else?
What's that?
Like you mentioned the overseer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is she an overseer, or like
she's an overlord of the Mystic
different.
faction. So if you scroll down,
yeah,
there is an image right there on the right, the cloaked figure.
Yeah,
that's an overseer. So the overseers are these cloaked figures, and they operate underground. And there's an image at the very bottom of the screen, if you scroll down all the way, that is an example of a citizen facing judgment at the end of their life. So
I see. So there is no card for them, you know.
Well,
not yet.
There's current. Okay, I'm not saying there's gonna be either. I'm just saying currently, no, there's not.
But so you have those overseers. They can pick up like people from their world, kind of, and bring them to the island for whatever reason. And then they have to fight or like survive or something.
Yeah, or just function in harmony. They don't necessarily have to be at war to pass judgment. And the citizens that do face it, it's on 11-year periods, and not every citizen that gets to the island comes there at the same time. So it's like a cycle. Every 11 years, there's a judgment held, and that's obviously like just to determine if that citizen is going to become an overseer or not. So it's not like all of them show up at the same time and face judgment at the same time. It's on a cycle.
There is no like high elf or like wood elf. You have your own stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like you see that's like a mystic waterfall. You'll see that in their area.
Yes,
and it's on the left with the hands. That's actually one of the areas that the mystics hang out in. You'll see it depicted on a full world image soon. It's actually on the playmats and tabletop simulator right now. But as far as that goes, there's these different areas, but there's also these different interactions between citizens, like allies. There's love stories, there's beefs, and you're going to see that depicted on cards over the next few sets.
I see.
So you'll be able to, I'll just explain real quick. You'll basically be able to see the duration of a citizen's life on a series of 6 cards that they're printed on. So they won't be functional reprints. They'll be new names with new art. It'll be a totally different card within the game. But if you were to take those 6 cards from 6 different sets of KRYPTIK and lay them on a table in a line, you'd be able to see their entire life in 11-year blocks played out right in front of you with those cards.
Oh, that's cool.
So those life sets, say Charlie, for example, which is my favorite card.
So it's her, right?
Yeah. So her life set, in my opinion, will be extremely sought after, especially in a glass foil, which is like our special version of a regular foil card. So a glass foil Charlie life set, crazy. Like I already want it. It doesn't exist yet, but I want it.
And so you mentioned Overlord. They are kind of like the boss of each. So you see how many tribes there is? Not tribe, faction. 4.
Currently there's 4 factions, and then there will be a new faction in Wicked Prophecy, which will be the shamans.
Okay, so now you have like the human, and I'm assuming she's Overlord?
Yes, so all the 6-drop cards in this set, so they're the cosmic. We were previously calling it void rare, but we're working on what we want to call our top rarity. We're actually going to pull it to the patron soon. We'll call it cosmic rares for this purpose, is the aqua green color. Yeah. And all of these 6-drop aqua green color citizen cards are the overlords. So you've got Charlie, Duke Raka, and then you've got Wolfric and Juturna.
So what does Ascendant mean? Are they some kind of angel?
Yeah, so Ascendant is they have angels, but they also have, I don't want to call them demons exactly, but they're more like a darker angel. So you look at someone even like Kieran right there, he's a bad guy.
They give me some spawn vibes.
Yeah. You know? So the Ascendant faction is somewhat divided, and you'll learn more about their world and what was going on there and why they're on the island later. But the Ascendants essentially function underground in the pits, the dark ones that you saw earlier with the hands coming up in the lava. Then the more angelic Ascendants occupy towers above ground, which you'll also see in that island image. If you go on Tabletop Simulator, you can see it right now. I'm going to put it out on Instagram soon.
And so, and you have Wolfric so you have the undead, the mystic, the human, and the ascendant, right? And then we have a bunch of spells. Okay, well, no, but like I was telling you, like there are a lot in this web page. So let's go a bit deeper into the art. So obviously we saw like it's pretty dark / kind of still kind of new. I like this artist. I don't know.
Inshu is awesome.
So yeah, I mean, I wanted to like you have a lot of artists already. Are they like new? Are they like established, or is it a bunch of people that you found? Like,
yeah, so I found these artists exclusively through Instagram.
Oh wow, okay.
That's the main platform I like to use personally, but also the main platform that KRYPTIK's using for advertisement and outreach. And these artists, yeah, that's I put designer because I didn't want to front or anything, but like the card designs and everything was all me, and like all the website was all me and everything. But
it's pretty international too.
Yeah, 14 countries. And as far as that goes, I just seek them out on Instagram because there's amazing artists that are not that recognized, that don't have huge followings or anything, that make crazy stuff. I mean, you guys have seen the cards. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
So as far as Wicked Prophecy goes, I'm not sure that we're going to bring on any new artists. I might keep it just with the current team we have now, and just to keep it a little bit cohesive moving forward. But Genesis is beautiful and amazing, but Wicked Prophecy will be a bit more cohesive because the artists are going to have, I've already commissioned 4 of them to work together to develop concept art for that new world. So it'll be like how Magic approaches it, where they spend a week there with concept artists. They come up with how they want clothing to look, how they want colors to look, the world, everything. And then we can have that sent out to the artists and they can make all their characters accordingly.
And Grace is from Canada, so that's cool. And you have 2 French people, so that's cool too.
Yeah. Grace is awesome. She's going to do at least 1, maybe 2 cards for the next set. Panjul is probably going to do about 10 of them. And then we may bring on a couple new artists, not sure. And I'm also not sure if we're going to use public domain art in
so sets. I wanted to mention that. So like you have several cards with art, mainly from the Renaissance period. Yes. And you listed those guys. I mean, obviously you didn't hire them or anything because they're all dead. But why did you choose to go this direction?
So it was a concept that I wasn't really familiar with. And when I discovered it, it was because I was looking for artists. And the way I would actually find these artists was just by seeing their art. And I would follow up and say, hey, are you interested in working on this game? And I found a couple of pieces and I was like, oh, these people are dead. Like I just found them on like Google searches and stuff, like, oh, these people are dead. And I look into it, it says Wikimedia, public domain. I'm like, I've heard of course I'm familiar with the concept of public domain, but how does it apply to art and using it in a physical product? So I did some research and started finding these crazy pieces, and pieces that are most likely otherwise just kind of sitting dormant on the internet or in a museum, which is still great for people to appreciate them. I was able to take those pieces and create entire characters around them. Now they have,
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, now they have these new names and this new life, and they're a character within the game, and people can appreciate them, and they can interact with other citizens on the island, and it's just dope. People seem to like it, and I think that a lot of those cards are going to end up being chase cards for people because they just look so cool. But there's currently 25 public domain arts used on cards, and that number by the time this goes to print will be more like probably about 18. There's some of them that we are going to, I've got 4 commissioned right now that are going to get replaced, so there will be at most 21, but it'll probably be more like 18, 19.
I see. No, I think it's cool. Does it put any, like, do you give direction to your artist, like, so that the art kind of match? It's hard to, like, if you have a card like this, I forgot the name, Conquistador, I think. You can't really have like a kind of a tunic kind of card, or like a very strong CG card. You need to keep a certain cohesion. Do you ask your artist to make 2D drawings? For example, most of your drawings, they seem pretty 2D, more like not really like 3D kind of
exactly. And then
stuff that I don't like.
Same. You see some random cards, like if you go to the undead faction below, you'll see a card named or go up, there's one named Thyra in the Ascendants. So Thyra is actually getting replaced. Currently commission being redone right now. You can see her right there.
Mm-hmm.
So like that card, I actually love that piece of art, but unfortunately it's a lower resolution and I had to zoom way in to get to the character, and it just didn't work out. So it's fine. I commissioned a new piece, and it's going to be crazy. Panjul's doing that one. So
no, that looks
it's going to
great.
be colorful with birds, and there's like a whole story behind all of that and her functionality on the island and her as a bird keeper. And you'll see later as the story intertwines with that art, but it gave us a jumping off point too. So some of these public domain arts that are being replaced, it gave us inspiration for characters. And Connor, my business partner, he's actually like the lore master, and he's the one doing it. He writes entire worlds for like 500 plus person LARPing groups and stuff. Like, he's into this shit stuff. Oh, sorry. That's the first time I cussed, I think.
It's okay.
My bad. He's really into this stuff. So he's the man when it comes to that. And this gave him a starting point for the lore. We have a very elaborate lore web he's working on that even just blows my mind every day, how involved this dude is with everything. And that's why the characters are individually named, because they all have their own story.
Yeah, I see. So we're going to move to like how the games play, because I think that's important. I just wanted to ask you something while we are here. Why those numbers 13, 12, 14, 11? Why are they so big? Like in Magic, we never see anything over like 6, 6. I mean, except really rare case. Why did you go to such big number?
For tuning purposes. It's easier to more finely tune cards, particularly 1 and 2 drops, because 1 and 2 drops in Magic are 1 1s, 2 1s, or 2 2s with significant downside.
Much, too quick.
So it's kind of hard to bounce those cards when you only have a plus or minus 1. And this is just a better way to tune the cards.
Yeah, I remember.
You can be more. Yeah. Sorry.
My Curd Ape, when he was a 2/3 turn 1, that's kind of, and makes the Lavana Lion 2/1 that doesn't, one is a big deal when you are at low drop. At high drop, it's less, but so now that makes sense. And there is the rule book is all there. And I'm assuming you update it along the way.
All the time. I made an update today. I added a definition.
What we're going to show is we're going to watch. You made a tutorial video.
Okay. What's up, everyone? Tanner here, creator of KRYPTIK. KRYPTIK is the world's first community-developed trading card game, and today I'm just going to give you a quick rundown on the rules.
Right?
Let's start with the basics. You use your citizens and spell cards in the game of KRYPTIK to destroy your opponent's 11-year cards. If you hit them one more time after they have no 11-year cards, you win the game. One of the most unique and beautiful things about KRYPTIK is you don't need any dice or tokens to play, just your cards. To start?
Okay, so about that. So I hate bookkeeping, and I do a lot of board game where I have like so many, token and dice and like paper keeping track of things. And a lot of games also now they start to have like, oh, I'm frozen, I'm burned, I'm whatever, and like more tokens and stuff. I hate that.
They're complicated to a fault.
Was it something that you chose from the beginning when you developed the game?
Yeah, and I don't know if you're familiar with Kodak. He makes YouTube videos, but I watched his series on the 7 deadly sins of designing TCGs, and he's just like a real old school, like knowledgeable dude. And he talked about the elaborate card game, or the immaculate card game rather. And I was like, what does that even mean? And he kind of goes into detail, and he's like, an immaculate card game only requires the cards. You don't need any counters, dice, paper, nothing. So it keeps track of your life. It keeps track of everything all right in front of you. And you never have to ask your opponent again, hey, what's your life total? Hey, what's this? Are you sure you marked your life down? The life total is right in front of us. It's represented by our 6 11-year cards. So,
I agree. And I guess tokens are okay because that give a way for community to make their own card also. But I really dislike so I have a theory that I can keep at max 1 either a token or a dice on 1 card. If I need 2, it means it's too much. Ideally, 0 is better, but it's once you need to have two marker on a card, I feel there is something wrong with the design. All right, let's check the rest of the video.
The game, you just shuffle your deck, you take the top 6 cards of your deck, put them in your 11-year row. These are considered your 11-year cards. More on this later. Each player then draws 6 cards from the top of their deck. You can shuffle as many cards as you want out of those 6 back into your deck and draw that many. You can only do that once per game, and in this game we call that recurring your hand. Now I'm going to break down the phase.
So why don't you call it mulligan? That's good.
What?
Why is it not a mulligan?
Well, we're trying to stay away from all the keywords involved with Magic. So I think as a creator, using like the same exact word that Magic uses to do the same exact thing is risky. Like,
It's
not
not
from a legal
exactly the same thing
perspective,
too.
but
So like, it's actually more powerful what you're doing.
exactly. I think it's better for the player because it offers you a better chance of having a good hand, which who doesn't want that? Both players want that. So to me, it makes more sense.
Yeah.
But I think calling it recurring your hand is just a way to kind of skirt using the exact term.
Phases of each turn. Disengage. At the beginning of your turn, you disengage all cards under your control unless a spell or ability says not to.
Exactly. And people know what
each
the
player
terms
draws
mean.
one
They know
card
how it
at the
relates.
beginning of their turn. The only exception to this is the person that goes first does not draw a card on their first turn. First phase. During this phase, you can play any card from your hand that you have the soul energy to play. You can also place one card per turn in your soul row upside down. This card becomes a soul card and can be engaged to produce soul energy to cast your cards. Keep in mind, you can only put one card in your soul row from your hand each turn unless a spell or ability says otherwise.
So you went this way, you know, like I think right now when you make a card game of this style, you know, fighting the opponent, it's all about how you deal your resources. And the old style as like Magic is like, you know, you build up every turn, you have one land and they are part of your deck. And now I think everybody kind of hate it and it's not used so much. Then you have two ways of doing it. Either you can cast anything you want from the beginning, and we have this in like Genesis Battle of Champion, in Flesh and Blood. Also, you don't have those resource spells of Magic, Legions, a lot of Canadian game. But you know, Hearthstone is also another way to do it. You know, like you build up turn by turn automatically. What you're doing is a bit different. Instead of having a counter, you actually use cards from your hand. So you still you are still forced to have the right, you know, you can't mix every color, I guess, because you are forced to have the right color. And, but still you are able, you know, you are not mana screwed. And
exactly.
So how did you come up with this idea?
So this again was an idea that I learned about through a video that I was watching of Codox, because I was searching far and wide for all solutions to resources in card games. So of course, integrating into your deck was my first consideration, as I'm a Magic player. But I learned about Duel Masters, which is a game that I had never played. I was aware of it, but I had never played it. But the problem with the way they built into their system is that if the card had that color, you could use that color, and it was too simple. And on top of that, you couldn't actually use those cards anymore. So they were just like, man, I really want to play this Charlie, but I guess I got to put it in my soul row or I'm not going to be able to play any damn cards. Yeah. So we have ways through spells and abilities to interact with your soul row. You can get spells back, citizens back, and it becomes a pseudo extension of your hand, especially in certain decks. So it creates this synergistic, very flowy gameplay where you're drawing the card and you can play the card as a soul card, cast cards, and then later use them obviously as resources to cast your cards, but you also have a chance to get them back later.
I see.
So it's all this very like nice, beautiful, flowy situation. And you're never agonizing over the decision to put a card in the soul row like you were at Duel Masters. Cause like this card's integral to my strategy. I need this card, but I need the resource right now more than that. So in our game, it's actually interactive and that makes it more fun. And it restricts deck building in a good way. So you can't just play all of the best cards in the format. You can only play certain cards with certain cards. It keeps the decks thematic and it keeps the meta balanced. Because if you have a system that allows you to just go willy-nilly with the colors, you just end up with best decks, where the best deck is just the pile of the best cards. No, that's obviously not good for any meta. But and I think the way we've implemented it is very solid.
So do you have do you care about the mana curve? I mean, it's not a mana, it's a soul curve. I don't know how you would call it, but like
we call it soul
curve. Okay. Like what I was worried is I saw a lot of cards cost like 4, 5, 6. Do you have enough cards that cost not a lot? Like, can you make an aggro deck with this type of situation, with this type of design?
Yeah, you can. And you can even make it with our first set, which is 151 cards. And there's enough cards to have aggressive strategies. So we've done that obviously very intentionally to where you could have the aggro, mid-range, and even control strategies in our game. So that way, obviously, the meta is diverse. But we allowed that just by using math. The curve makes sense. If you were to break down each faction, not only do they have an equal amount of soul cost total, but the 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, just like in a deck, are balanced. So there'll be 3 1 drops, 5 2-drops, 8 3-drops, and then it goes back down to 5 4-drops, just like you would have in a curved out deck.
Yeah.
So the game design is actually mathematically figured to allow curve. And there's plenty of options at each mana cost and soul cost rather. And on top of that, we thought of it as the factions interact. So obviously there's friendly enemy factions and certain decks that are going to synergize. We wanted those synergized decks that are a little bit more thematic and maybe even tribal to have access to cards at each.
And can I make a control deck with no creature at all, or is that not possible?
It's not possible because there's no win condition outside of swinging with creatures or with citizens as far as that goes right now. In the future, you never know.
I don't like creatures.
There's some other type of cards, but
okay.
Like for you, you'd probably love a Mystic deck where you're playing sweepers and you're playing Muriel, which is a citizen that bounces citizens and destroys citizens, but you would use her to start chipping away at their 11-year cards while you're controlling the board state. So there's counters, there's removal, there's sweepers.
So you have counter spell, right?
Yes.
Okay. Oof. I can't play a game if there is no counter spell. That make me stress.
Yeah. There's even a couple citizens that have counter spell abilities.
I like Mystic Snake kind of card.
You're gonna be a Mystic player like me.
Okay, sounds good.
Because I'm a black-blue control player.
Yeah.
In EDH, I play zombies, but
okay, I see. Let's
also play spell cards in their hand during this phase, with the attacking player having spell casting priority. Command blockers. It's in this phase that the defending player chooses which citizens they'd like to block with.
When you're attacking your opponent,
you declare all your
attacking
attackers, they declare all their
target
blockers.
a specific 11-year card or the player themselves. A player can only lose the game if they are hit while controlling no 11-year cards.
Battle damage happens simultaneously, and citizens with a defense that is equal to or lower than the opposing citizen's attack power die. Second phase.
All right,
so that works the same way as Magic.
That's kind of the damage is, the attack is same as Magic, but you can attack different target.
So you declare your targets as you command your attackers in that phase. They declare, or command is what we call it, their blockers. And then the combat interactions are on a 1-by-1 basis as decided by the attacking player.
Okay.
So you will choose the order they go in because it can matter. If you destroy the citizen and it has some sort of die effect, it's going to matter.
Yeah.
Or if you have to structure it in a way that they have access to less of their 11-year cards, because remember, when you destroy an 11-year card, it flips and they're allowed to play it. That could possibly matter.
So if you have like five, I don't know how that called, citizens, can you attack 5 different 11 years card?
Yep. You almost always would if they had 5 11-year cards. If they only have 3, you can be strategic on how you want to attack. And this is where the game can get extremely complex, because if you choose to attack 11-year cards a certain way with certain citizens, you can actually corner your opponent into blocking unfavorably just to save their neck. So that's one of the huge differences in this game, and what's really going to like bust people's brains when they're playing this game is the combat interactions.
I see.
Less 11-year cards than any of your opponents.
So like I wanted to show, like, you have something called the short time. So it's when your opponent have less 11 years old citizens. So the 11 years old are here on this line. So it seems you have a lot to kind of mitigate if you are behind. Like, if you lose one of your 11 years old cards, you can cast them. If you can't, they go to your hand. But also, like, a lot of cards have boost if you are behind. Why are you trying so hard to... what's the reasoning behind trying to, allow people to come back? Like,
I get what you're asking. So the same as resources are handled with Magic and us having a problem with that being mana screwed, mana flooded, whatever, it's the same thing. It's an issue of getting steamrolled when somebody gains momentum.
Steamrolled.
So
I guess that's the right expression.
Yeah, and it's a snowball effect. So like in Pokemon, they have the exact opposite approach where you get a prize card. So beating your opponent actually puts you at an even greater advantage, which doesn't feel good. So we wanted it to be the other way around. Let's keep the game interactive and competitive till the very last edge of the game, right? You want to reward players for being skilled, but you also don't want to let them blow people out because they have a favorable draw every time. So this is a good way to keep it balanced and to keep the game interactive from start to finish. And we've worked a lot on balancing these mechanics, because in the beginning we had it way too far skewed in the defending player and the losing player. So before we had it to where you if you had no 11-year cards, you got to draw 2 cards, and it was way more favored towards the defending player. And now it's a lot more balanced. And we find ourselves having a lot of games that end up being where you're 1 or 2 combat interactions from victory. So the games are extremely close, and that's consistently happening regardless of who goes first, which is exactly what we want. We want the games to be as close as possible, as often as possible. Okay. So it is quite balanced. It is delicate, though. I'll admit, it's a very delicate system of mechanics, but that's what we do. You know, we're designing this game, and that's our job. So.
Yeah. Well, let's check
a bit more of the video. I want to explain to you the zones of the game. Your hand is made up of the cards you hold, and the maximum hand size is 9. The island is the primary zone of the game, and that's where your citizen cards go when you cast them. The soul row is the one closest to you, and that's the row you put your cards in upside down to become soul cards. The 11-year row is right above your soul row,
and this is just reference. Obviously, people are going to play with
the 3 static zones of the game are the abolish pile, which is where cards go when they're abolished by spells or abilities. Your main deck, which is your main 50+ card deck, and then the limbo pile, which is where citizens go when they die and spells go when they resolve. Now I'm going to explain a unique feature of Cryptic, 11-year cards. These 6 cards essentially function as shields and protect you from citizens' attacks. When you run out of these shields and a citizen attacks you unblocked, you lose the game.
When an attacking citizen goes unblocked, it hits the 11-year card it targeted and the card is revealed. The defending player then has the chance to instantly play that card for its 11-year cost. If they can't or choose not to, it goes to their hand.
Players are not permitted to look at 11-year cards unless spells or abilities specifically say they can. Now we're going to quickly go over the different sections of a Cryptic card. The card's name is in the upper left-hand corner, and you can only have 3 copies of each card in your Cryptic deck.
3 copies.
Its soul cost is in the upper right-hand corner.
Now it's not 3?
Color and quantity.
It is 3. It used to say 4. That's why I had that little jump.
Quantity of soul energy required to cast it. More on this later. The card type bar contains the card type, and citizens cards bars also contain their faction. The ability box of a card is where you'll find a citizen's abilities and a spell's effects. Found only in the bottom left-hand corner of the citizen cards is the battle box. This box contains 2 numbers separated by a /. The first number being the citizen's attack, the second number being the citizen's defense. The bottom bar of each card contains an hourglass symbol with soul stones next to it. These soul stones indicate the quantity and color of soul energy required to cast this card for its 11-year cost when it is destroyed as an 11-year card.
So it's not always just a cost.
Yeah, but so those 2, the 11-year cost and the soul box, that's what make your game different. So
oh yeah, those are the 2 big things for sure. Yeah. And like you were talking about earlier with short time, because we didn't really explain it too much, but like if you have less 11-year cards, there's certain cards that become more powerful if you're on short time.
Finally, in the bottom right,
the 11-year cost can also be an 11-year ability, which will allow you to like cycle. If you draw, say you draw pump spell, you don't necessarily want to have that card in your hand, and it has of no use to you in that moment because the combat interactions have already taken place.
Yeah.
So you can cycle the card and draw another one.
Oh,
there's different ways that we implemented 11-year abilities and costs.
So it's different from like, you know, those Japanese game where you have prize cards, like Pokemon is one of them.
Yeah.
It means something.
It's actually the exact opposite of prize cards in theory. I mean, and also they represent your life and they're the equivalent of like a shield. So it's a great way to keep track of your life, but also gives you card advantage when you're behind.
No, that's cool.
Soul box. That box contains a soul stone that tells you the color or colors that card can produce. Refer to this box when the card is upside down in your soul row and you're using it to create soul energy to cast your cards. Just a couple more things to talk about and we're going to be ready to play a game of Cryptic. Let's go over how the soul energy color system works. Firstly, this is how soul stones work if they are in the card's soul cost or 11-year cost. If the stone is a solid color, it must be paid for by that specific color. If a stone in either of these costs is mixed, it can be paid for with either.
So that's exactly same as Magic, right?
Exactly, and that's very intentional.
Yeah, no, but I think it's good. Like, no, if it's not broken, don't change it. So
yeah, no, it's a great system, and it makes perfect sense, and it's worked out good for us.
I do like the fact that you put a bit of texture on the symbol.
Yeah, I hired an artist to create like stones in like a space environment, and that's where that purpley blue background we use for a lot of stuff comes in as well. He did the same ones.
I see.
He didn't illustrate any cards, just stones in space.
So you're going to see a lot of cards upside down. Did you think about having some card that looks good upside down? Like with the art being upside down?
We were talking about doing cards that were like perfectly symmetrical top to bottom. So when you flip it, it could be like some sort of, see, now you're making me do spoilers, where it could be like an optical illusion. But you'll see, all right? You'll see. Now, trust me, we've thought about that for sure.
Yeah,
I've already got a guy.
It would be cool.
a guy that's tattooed me in the past that does optical illusion type art is helping us with that. So
let's check.
That should give you enough information to play your first game of Cryptic. If you want to go more in
more in depth,
or if you have questions, check out our rulebook on our website.
Yeah, so that I already
on the screen.
Okay, you have
I think people should definitely read the rulebook.
Yeah, no, sure. So the rulebook is if I come back, it's here. And it's pretty good. I wrote it. It's pretty detailed. I mean, it plays exactly the same as Magic for a lot of things, except that you don't attack your opponent. You can attack only the shield, the 11 years old, and you don't have mana. Typically, any card can be a mana of a sort. So, but I guess it's really changed the dynamic, and I understand why you made it like this. The 11 years old card really changed the fact that, and I don't know, maybe I don't know if those effects are strong or not, because if it's too strong, then that, I mean, if you flip a card and that just wipe your opponent board, that would obviously be too strong. But it's a really nice dial.
Yeah, there's nothing that does that yet.
No, that would be too good. And you can't.
No, we want to avoid blowout cards.
But you can't know what they are secret, right? You can't know what they do.
There are cards so spells and abilities from citizens and spell cards that do allow you to look at them, which is obviously an advantage, it being information. So sometimes it lets you look at them, sometimes it forces you to reveal them. So there's a lot of interactions with the 11-year row, the soul row, and your hand. So it's almost like you have like a main hand and two pseudo hands that you can interact with as well. So the complexity is high. I mean, some game states can get extremely complex.
And like these two next to the sunglass, it means it costs 2 colorless to cast.
Exactly.
Okay, makes sense.
And you cast it in that moment, so it also is able to be used on the next turn. So
if I don't play it when it's hit,
it just goes to your hand,
and then I have to cast the normal cast, right?
Exactly. Which, if you're tapped out or you just don't have the desire to, or you want to play a spell, I mean, there's a lot of reasons you wouldn't cast it, but you're basically getting it at a discounted rate.
Why is it called 11 years old card? Like, why 11 years?
It lines up with the lore in that every 11-year block on the island is those years of your life, right? And then that last push after the 11 is judgment. So if someone is to lose all their 11-year cards and get hit again, they lose and they are judged not favorably. So they essentially lost their opportunity to become an overseer, and doesn't necessarily mean you become one by default, but we've got some stuff that we're working on for that too in our future events and tournament structure. So
you have 6 cards, and those are your
that's 66 years of your life. So each one of them represents an 11-year block.
That makes sense now. Okay, I understand now. So how long does a game take usually? Like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes?
If both players know how to play and it's fluid, it's about 20 minutes.
I see. And
in its current state with new players, it's typically being more like 30 to 35.
Yeah, it makes sense. And is it designed more like for best of 1, best of 3?
It can be both. I think if we can dial it in to where on average the games are 18 to 20 minutes, we could reasonably have 1.5 rounds and do best of 3s. But I'm also not opposed to having best of 1 style tournaments that maybe have 45-minute rounds. It just kind of depends how that plays out. But there will be formats for both, because I want LGSs to have the option. So
1 hour 30 is kind of too long, typically over 50 minutes, because that's you need to change table and stuff like that. But perfect. Yeah, it just is hard to design for both best of 1 and best of 3, because you need to have cyber game.
Yeah, it's excellent for best of 1 because of the come behind mechanics and the ability to recur your hand. So it hurts a lot less on turn 1. So the game's a lot more even on average. I think instead of being like a 56-44 or a 60-40 like Magic, that the player who goes first wins, we're going to be much closer to 50-50.
I see.
I don't think it'll be perfect, but it'll be much closer than Magic. So best of 1s won't hurt nearly as bad.
And so, like we said before, you have human, Ascendant, Mystic, and Undead. Can you mix cards from different faction in your deck?
Yep. Anything that you can cast. So there's no rule against any type of mixing. It's totally up to the deck builders, and it's going to be dictated by the colors. So it's pretty flexible. You can do a lot of mixing. Of course, you're going to lose some consistency in casting your cards, but if you mix, like, say, Human Mystic, they're friendly factions, so they're designed to be mixed more easily.
I see.
But Human and Ascendant, who are neutral factions, can be mixed as well. A Human Undead deck probably not going to be advantageous from like a competitive standpoint.
Maybe later.
But if you like, yeah, exactly. There's going to be a lot to do with the lore in the future of how those factions interact. So
I see.
That could change. But as of right now, you want to stick more to like a mono-faction tribal type deck or your friendly faction. But you can definitely go to the neutral faction or even 3 we've seen. So
I see. And like for card type, so you have the citizens. That's like the beasties, right?
Yes.
And you have spell.
Yes.
And that's all. You don't have enchantment, artifact, traps.
We have no plan of including enchantment cards, but I do believe in the future we will implement the equivalent of an artifact, and they will be magical items on the island that have significance in the story. So I wanted to establish the story first in a game with gameplay so that people could learn the game. I'm also going to be including like instruction pamphlets in the boxes and obviously the starter decks. So I want people to learn to play the game and have the basics of it. And then later we can delve into Wolfric's sword. And, you know, that's just an example. I'm not saying that card's good.
It's okay.
I just said things of that nature that can be used later on. But I wanted to establish the game first because like we were talking about earlier, some of these games just approach it at a level that's just way too complex.
I know.
And it's much easier to break a complex overly complex game. So we want something.
You can't attack creature directly, right?
Nope.
So
no, you have to target an 11-year card or a player.
Yeah, so I mean they're not so weak, you know. Like so a card can be kind of like an artifact. I saw you have some card that can tap another. I don't know if you call it tap, but like you can have icy manipulator kind of card.
Yeah, we call it engage, but yes, tap.
Okay.
So we call it if a card's engaged, but yeah, there are engaged abilities and also just activated abilities on these cards that do allow them to function as an artifact with a butt, basically.
And do you have plan for sealed and draft?
Yes. So there's actually a specific section in the rulebook that details how that's to be approached.
I see.
And our boxes are designed for it specifically. So you could support a 4-person sealed or 8-person draft experience. And from like the LGS perspective, it's awesome because you don't have to have a box of basic lands or anything like that. Everything you need to run that event is within the box. So you can literally show up, just have a booster box, and you know full well you're going to have everything you need to run an 8-person draft or everything you need to run a 4-person sealed. So the game is specifically set up that way, and the boxes are designed with that in mind. So.
And did you think
that's a huge thing to me because I like to draft?
Oh no, I think that's important. But it's really hard to make a game that is balanced for constructed and for limited. Limited is so much harder to balance. That I was curious. But can you do you have any plan for PvE? No,
not currently.
Okay,
no.
That's cool.
I'm not blocked off to it, but that'll probably be somebody will have to join the team that's super stoked about it. And then we'll go down that road.
No, it's just like you have so much lore.
Exactly.
That would be kind of cool, but I think it's hard to implement. And do you have some plan for organized play, and when would you want to start to have organized play?
I'd like to start having organized play by the end of this year. So I want to run a tournament in Vegas. There's actually a specific venue that I want to rent out that I've used for events in the past for YouTube. And I want to have what we're going to call an overseer tournament. And the premise of the tournament is going to be announced at some point, but it's going to integrate the lore and it's going to put the players on Cryptic Island and integrate characters and lore via cosplay and storytelling to where the tournament is actually an experience built into the lore. Oh, I see
what you mean. I think I get it.
It's very in-depth and it's going to be very well organized, just like the events I've done there in the past. It's going to be awesome. Cool. But the actual competitive play through LGSs, yes, definitely. And I'm already coming up with a system of how to keep track of that and a reward system because I love the idea of giving promo cards.
Yeah, I mean, it's so good, like getting your points and getting stuff.
Yes.
I mean,
it's so cool, especially state champion promo cards. And we'll include Canada, of course, but having a 1-of-1 state champ card with like your state silhouette as the text box, amazing. And so I definitely want to implement that. And I think the game is definitely complex enough to be highly competitive.
And do you plan to have that as soon as the Kickstarter box are shipped, or do you want to wait for a first edition?
Yes, there will definitely be, as soon as these LGSs start getting their cards and the players start getting their cards, there will be a system in place. It may not be perfect, but it'll be the best that we can do with what we've got right now. But long term, my goal and intention is to definitely have it app based, because I think from an LGS perspective, one of the biggest pains in the ass is inputting the data and the results. So if you were to have some sort of app, or I've already reached out to developers and been told that it's totally doable with a database where the LGS owners can have it based on location. So those players sign in, they scan their QR win or loss, scan their QR code win or loss, and then who won the whole thing.
See what you mean.
It all gets inputted automatically. I have an automatic point system with email addresses, shipping addresses, print a label, send you your card. It's all integrated, very easy. So it makes it easier for everyone, which means it's actually going to happen, because you put too many barriers between the owners or the players and the end, they're just not going to do it. It's just not worth the effort.
It's too much work.
If it's effortless, people will participate.
I have this slide in front of me, so let's go through it. But like, so the different priority, you have common, the black symbol, and common, the silver symbol.
Yep.
Those are rare, but you call them something different, I'm assuming.
No, those are rare.
Okay, just rare. Okay. Yep. And then you have like the super mega rare.
So we're calling that cosmic rare right now. We were previously calling it void rare. That was before I discovered nostalgics and that they used the term void rare. So we got to change it. All good, you know. I wasn't aware of it, you know, but it's cosmic rare right now.
It could be cryptid rare too. I mean,
yeah. What we're gonna do is let the patrons vote. So
okay, cool.
You'll see it's gonna be put to vote, and I personally, I'm not even gonna give bias.
No, don't say anything.
You guys, exactly. You guys vote the way you want to vote.
And so in a booster, like, do you get how many cards of which type do you get?
So you get 6 commons, 3 uncommons, and then there's a slot that's a rare or void rare, and then there's 1 foil card in every pack. The foil card will be one of any random card for the 151. So you could get a pack that has 2 void rares. It's possible, and then 1 in every 36 packs. So on average, 1 per box. Doesn't mean you're going to get 1 every box, but on average, 1 per box. You'll get a glass foil, which also could be any of those 151. So you start to get into a situation where, say, any given box, you have about an 8% chance of pulling a glass foil void rare or cosmic rare. So if you put that out into, this is all thought out mathematically, right? If you put that out into the fact that there's 12 void rares in the set, you're only going to get it 0.06% of the time. So for each overlord, which were the 6 drops I told you about, there's only going to be 66 of them in existence of the glass foil for the entire Kickstarter print run. So it's thematic. It makes sense, but they're going to be based on that math of 151. Yeah.
So what are those glass foils?
Yeah. It's like kind of like an old school Japanese style foil that has like a shard effect to it, that has those chunks going across it. And I actually have a video of some of our cards that are printed on a glass foil sheet. So you'll have a visual representation of it up on the screen, but they're beautiful, and they're not necessarily going to be full foil. We are going to have certain sections of the card foiled and certain sections not, but these are just test cards. So I did the whole front of them, you know. You
have already a good plan. So I wanted to go quickly through the plan. So January, launch community developer program. So you have people giving feedback. February, finalize card template and Kickstarter.
Point of this portion for February is that I'm going to finalize the tiers, because that'll be public knowledge prior to the launch. You guys will know what the tiers are, how many of each tier there's going to be, that way you can plan accordingly, because I don't want it to be a surprise. People are rushing to get their orders in, and tiers are limited, and I want them to know which tier they're going to sign up for before it launches, so they can go straight to that. They don't got to learn about it when the Kickstarter launches, because you know how these things go. They get crazy in the first hour. They get crazy in the first 5 minutes. So I want people to know what they want going into it and be able to make that purchase. So
and so February you want to finish that. March, March you want to finish to work on the set. So the first set is called Genesis. Nothing to do with the Canadian Genesis.
Nope.
But Genesis is a very usual name. And
Genesis just meaning the beginning.
Yeah.
We could call it a base set, but I think that's kind of bland.
April, you start the Kickstarter and you host tournament. What does it mean?
That'll be a TTS tournament done right towards the end of the month. And that'll be ran by myself and Q. And we want to establish some sort of screen sharing to moderate basically rules and moderate judging, so that there can be fairness, because once there's prizes involved, people get, so it'll probably be over the span of a few days, and the matches will be gotten in when they can be. It may not be happening simultaneously, but the semis and finals will happen in a row, and they will be live streamed to our YouTube channel.
Okay,
so
cool.
the grand prize for that, you heard it here first, more than likely is going to be a sealed test box, which there's only 16 of those made. So those are going to be crazy sought after. I've already had people offer me $2,500 for them, which I'm not doing, by the way. But so stop asking me. No, but seriously, that'll be a dope prize for whoever wins.
Makes sense. And so then as soon as this is finished, I guess the Kickstarter will be like 1 month, something like that.
45 days. Yep, it ends on May 31st.
And then
I'm gonna do like a grand finale thing at the Dallas Collecticon. I'm gonna be there physically. I already got 5 tables reserved, and it's also my birthday weekend, so we are gonna turn up a little bit. But we're gonna have games you can play there. You're gonna be able to play online. You're gonna be able to see all the products, cards in person. It's gonna be cool. So,
and then you have the next set. So you start to work on it. I guess you already started. It's like
we started the art. We haven't started the characters or the actual breakdowns, but it will be balanced and even through the factions, so that decks that you're building now will still matter. It's gonna have a new faction that you can integrate into those decks with a new color combination. So not a new color, but a new color combination.
So you have only 4 color, right?
Currently, yes.
There is no. You have white, blue, black, green. There is no red.
That's right.
Is that on purpose?
Yep. And the next color, if we do add one, not saying we will, is going to be not red. So
purple.
No. Who told you? No, just kidding. No, we actually don't know, but it definitely will not be red. So
okay. No, but it might just seem like your whole game is around those black green part of the colors. There is nothing really red, and I do like it. So June, you start to print. Surprise announcement with coins. I don't know what it is. And August you finish the second set, and September you start to ship.
Yep.
So most likely it's gonna arrive September, October.
That's the hope. And before, like, this is obviously my projection of what I think will happen. But when we actually get into the Kickstarter and I'm communicating with the printer, you guys will know exactly when you're going to get your cards before you give me $1 of a pledge. Like, I'm not going to have it to where, oh, hey, by the way, we're behind a month. Like, I want it to be established in the beginning so the expectations are clear, because the last thing I want is 500 emails a day about where are my cards. Yeah. So, and it takes time. It's just an unfortunate part of the process to even start making the cards. It takes them 2 months because I got to order all the materials.
And this surprised me a bit. Like October, you take pre-order for Wicked Prophecy. So first, in this schedule, when do you plan on releasing a first edition of Genesis?
The first print run of boxes will include the Kickstarter boxes, and we're not going to call it first edition just because, to me, it's not the first edition. And I feel like it's a bit dishonest to call it a first edition.
Yeah, I think so.
The Kickstarter boxes, and then our version of Unlimited, which we will rename because I think that also sounds terrible, but our version of Unlimited will be actually purchased simultaneously. And I'm going to base it the best I can off of the projected demand, so that when those hit in September, they'll also be sent out to distributors. So the LGSs will have access to those cards as soon as the Kickstarter backers get their cards. The pre-orders for Wicked Prophecy, that's the plan. And then the pre-orders for Wicked Prophecy, just going back to that real quick, that's what I was talking about with having more margin in your Kickstarter. I can tack that onto my order, and I have enough margin in the Kickstarter boxes to cover the cost of that additional print run. But as far as the pre-orders go, I should probably reword that, to be honest, because I don't want it to be perceived as like I'm going to allow pre-orders through the website or anything like that to individuals. We're talking about the LGSs will be placing their pre-orders with distributors, so that when Wicked Prophecy hits, they can automatically have them on their shelves.
Now that makes sense. I mean, we need like after Genesis come to the shop, you need probably like 3 weeks, 1 month to see how it sells, and then you can reassess how much you want for the next one.
Yeah. So I think those would be available actually physically sometime in January, but also don't want to guarantee.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's far away. Like we never know Omicron and stuff like that. And so November you start to print, and December you want to have this big tournament
in Vegas. This is my hometown, so I've already got a venue picked out. I'm gonna make a whole funny video of me planning it and everything. I'm gonna be dressed up, acting goofy, because that's what I do.
But why not?
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, and the actual tournament itself will be awesome. I guarantee you, it's gonna be sweet. I've ran events prior to this for other things, and we got it dialed in. It's gonna be sweet.
And let's look a bit at the Kickstarter. So like we said, it's April 15th of this year. And if we look at this slide, so you have those booster box, 36 pack. By the way, I like 36 pack. I prefer 36 at 24. So I'm assuming you draft with 4 packs and not 3.
Yeah, so exactly. And that's why it's 36 packs.
Yeah, makes sense. And you will have a starter deck. Is that 2 different starter decks, or is that just...
So I just commissioned the art for the actual, that's not going to be the actual art on the packaging. I just commissioned 2 unique pieces that are going to have the human mystic and ascendant undead combinations. So friendly faction starter decks. And I did that because I wanted to offer it in tiers, but not have to give people the option of the deck, because that makes filling the orders on the back end way more involved and difficult. I'd much rather have it to where you just get set products based on your tier. So you don't have to email me separately. I don't have to use any like backer it software or anything of that nature. I can do it all within Kickstarter, and it just simplifies the whole process. So.
And what are those 10-pack prop boxes? Is it like fat pack?
Yeah, it'll be like a fat pack.
Not even called fat pack anymore in Magic, so I don't know.
Oh yeah, you're not allowed to call it that. Whatever. Yeah, it's a fat pack or an elite trainer box to Pokemon standards. So those will contain 10 booster packs and a pamphlet to teach you how to play for. At least for Genesis, because I want people to have access to that information right in front of them. But it's just a way to get bulk packs.
Anything special in it? Like if you get boxed, do you still want to have one of those?
It'll be to be determined on that. I would love to include a promo or similar, but I have to figure out the exact details of that. I just don't want to guarantee it right now.
Yeah.
Guaranteed it comes with 10 packs and an instruction pamphlet. Beyond that, you will definitely know before the Kickstarter launches.
And sure. I saw also there is a box topper in the box. What's in the box topper?
The box toppers will feature arts that you can't get within the normal set, but they're not going to be cards that are that aren't accessible within the set. So they'll be functionally the same, but a special aesthetic to them. Because you definitely don't want box toppers that are essential for competitive decks.
Yeah,
the supply is too low. But
no, but so that brings to something super important. Is like we talk about the rarity. You have the rare and you have your
cosmic rare.
And is that hard to get those cosmic rare? Like how many do you get in a box roughly?
It's 1 in 3 packs.
Okay, so it's 12, not so bad.
Exactly. You get 12 in a box on average, of course. And that'll allow you to get a full playset, including the void rares, on average about every 3 booster boxes. You'll be able to get playsets of cards. But you're obviously not going to have full foils, the glass foils.
And when you say set, it's three of each card, right?
Exactly.
Because that's a big question. How many box do you need to have a play set, or how many box you need to play competitive? So you say with 3 box, you should have 3-4 box. You should be okay to have all what you need to play any decks.
Yeah, and that's for the rares and void rares. But if you're just talking commons, uncommons, it's about 1.5 boxes.
Yeah. Okay, so, and the rest is it's more cosmetic or for. I think that's a very sweet spot.
Because it keeps the chase alive.
Yeah, well, because it's horrible to open box and just throw everything except 1 card. So
you're still chasing that 1 of 66 glass foil Charlie. People are gonna think it's set up or a scam.
It's not
when
my
I'm trying
favorite
to buy that
card, Charlie. So I'm good. I can give it to you. I can trade it to you. I prefer the.
I'm gonna be buying it. People are going to be like, oh, he's buying his own cards. Come on. No, really. Whoever opens that, just mark my words. I'm buying that stuff. Yeah. Sorry.
For $666.
There you go. Fair. Fair enough.
Fair enough, right? Okay, so I think that sounds really cool. So this is not ready yet, right? So today, I want to support the game. What can I do? Like, can I get some cards? Can I play? I know there is CTS. So we can play on TTS, and we're going to try to do that later.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And hopefully we will have another giveaway for the TTS game.
Yeah, I have more test cards.
And the second thing is, like, if we want to get cards, you already have a patron, right?
Exactly.
So the only way have somewhere
it's 70 patrons right now. Yeah. so the only way to actually play, like you said, Tabletop Simulator on Steam, the cards are updated every Sunday, and I put detailed change notes in the Discord server every week. So that's always good to go. And those buttons you saw in the video are fully functional. So they disengage your cards, they draw you the cards. Thank you, Q. He's the one who did the scripts for those. Cool. And yeah, so you're showing this is our first ever Patreon packs. So they're going to be themed over the next 6 months from now to when we actually go to the Wicked Prophecy packs. So the next 4 months will be one of each faction, and we pull it each month to see what order they want them in. They voted for Ascendants first, so there they are. And they're packs that contain 11 cards randomly from the 28 shown. So the Overseer patrons, which would be the ones that get 5 packs, potentially could get the entire set in their 5 packs, no guarantees. And that, you know, that way they can trade and interact with each other, and I'm sure they'll come up with their sets. But the Overlord patrons get 1 pack per month. So this month, if you sign up before the 29th of January, you will also get 1-for-1 test packs from the test print run, which there's less than 1,000 of. Yes, those cards right there.
Right. So they're all foil, right?
No. So the test cards, the test packs are actually set up like a regular booster pack, except for they have 15 cards instead of what we're going to actually go with, which is 11 cards per pack. So they have 15 cards, and they're put in full art foil bags, like they call them foil bags, but booster packs. And those are actually from our test print run, which less than 1,000 packs of those. So that's going to be like a little bit of a bonus, because I just didn't want patrons to get charged twice before they got cards, because that wouldn't fly. So they're gonna have physical cards in hand before they get charged the second time.
I see. And so you get 1 foil and 1 rare or mystic rare.
Exactly. It'll be structured just like we talked about earlier. So who knows? It'll be just like you're opening a random pack from a box. So
yeah, that's cool. And so so like if we subscribe to Patreon before 29th of January, you get a bonus pack. Yeah, so we get both, and then moving to February, that's gonna be just 1 pack, but that's not gonna be the Angels. That's gonna be something else.
Yeah, like next month will likely be Undead, because they were the second in the poll. So
when is
you get the Undead packs. Whenever the patrons vote for it, but within the next 4 months for sure. Can
you get full art card in a booster? Like, are they only for the patron? No, nothing.
Yep, these exact versions of these cards with no text boxes. They're not tournament legal. They're to be used as like collectible pieces, basically. So you can't use them in competitive play, but they will not be printed again like that. So
I see.
There may be a version within the box that has a modified text box or something of that nature, but there will not be any that show the full art. And we did that because look at them. They're beautiful. I mean, you can see the entirety of the art. And
I like them so much. I feel it.
Yeah.
I thought maybe in the box topper or something you could get them, but
the box topper will have some variation in the art styles, and we've got some special stuff cooking up that I've never seen before in a TCG for those box toppers specifically, which I'm torn. I don't want to reveal it during the Kickstarter because I want people to realize it when they open it for the first time. So I'm torn on that, because I think on one hand, it'll incentivize people to buy boxes because they're like, I want that. But on the other hand, it takes away from that magic of seeing it for the first time.
Like keep it secret, I would think.
Yeah, at least something's got to be a secret, right?
There is enough exciting things. And I mean, like, finally, I wanted to ask you what is your favorite card, but you said 10 times it was Charlie. Anything else you would like to say?
No, I mean, I'm in love with Charlie. That's the first card I actually developed and created. Like, the beginning of the lore in the game was created around this character. It's the first art I commissioned. It's just a beautiful card, and she has a beautiful story, and you'll see how she interacts with Juturna and the Mystic Citizens, and how good she actually is. And people are going to fall in love with Charlie. I'm telling you, she's our Charizard. Just wait. She's going to be our Charizard.
I don't know, man. Okay. And
at least for me.
And I want to remind that we have a giveaway for Tiberius. It seems to be a pretty good card too.
Yeah, I've got a little, it's Tiberius from James Tiberius Kirk from Star Trek. My middle name's James. As per Star Trek, my mom's a Trekkie, so
okay, I see.
That's our guy right there. So a lot of the space vibe and stuff is inspired by me just having a love for Star Trek. And I've got the USS Enterprise tattooed on my arm, says Mothership.
So, because I just see Mother, I thought it was just Mother, but that's Mothership.
It's the Enterprise. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
a lot of it comes from that, and I had to give some sort of homage, you know?
And like if we get a lot of traction out of this video, maybe we can give something else more.
Yeah,
we will see.
I've got test boxes coming in less than a week, so we will have some other sealed stuff.
Ooh, that's cool. So we will see, like,
dabble with.
We will see how many. So if you want to be in the giveaway, you need to comment. You need to join both our Discord. And in the comment, you need to say what is your favorite card or the favorite part in the interview. And if we have a lot of those comments and a lot of people watching the video, we will try to get one more or two more giveaway, depending. It's going to scale up. If we get 1,000 views in like 3-4 days, then we're going to put 2 or 3 more giveaway. Let's see how it goes. I think this game is awesome. I'm very excited. I'm waiting to have card in my hand and to play. So next week we're gonna try to play on TTS. And I want to thank you for your time and like for your devotion to this game. Any last words?
No, that's it. I hope you guys enjoy the lore and how we integrate it with the game.
Yeah, we want to learn more about the lore.
Yeah, in February, our big concentration is going to be development. So we're going to be actually testing the game a lot. And on February 1st, I'll be announcing a new tiered system of rewards for playtesters where they can submit Google Forms with match results and notes and be rewarded with gift cards for some swag that's going to be on the website or a reduction in their Patreon. So you can play games and get cheaper Patreon packs, and there's going to be rewards involved, and I've got a guy hired that's going to manage it all, and it's good times.
And will we get a lore book? Last spoiler, will we get a lore book inside the Kickstarter?
Definitely.
Okay,
most
cool.
Definitely.
Well, that makes my day.
Yeah, Connor is our lore master, and he will not have it any other way. So
okay,
you're definitely going to have that. I want comics as well. I want comics that are chapters within the book to be separate comics with unique comic book art.
Yeah,
but I think he's going to get his way before I do. So hopefully we have both. But
okay, no, I want a lore book, the boss, like something hardcover or like very nice that I can put on my shelf.
And we want to display the lore because in the future, you never know what we could do with this IP. It could become a show. It could become a movie, games. I mean, Cryptic could be so many things.
A movie show, a Star Trek show.
Juicy. So, yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, thanks guys for watching. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, otherwise you can't go to the giveaway. And let's stay tuned because we will have more encrypted next week or at the end of the week. Bye guys.
Thank you so much.